Hi, my name is Huey Curran. I'm a second-year political science student, and my project is on the International Labor Organization, specifically looking at how it combats inhumane labor practices and promoting workers' rights. So now we can get to the roots and the inception of the International Labor Organization. It was founded in 1919 after the conclusion of the First World War. It was a part of the Treaty of Versailles. And it was established around this core idea that social justice was necessary for lasting peace. And we wouldn't get to define social justice necessarily just yet, because the League of Nations did not provide the proper forum for global governance. But it was established that social justice was necessary for lasting peace. Moving forward, then in the summer of 1920, the headquarters were moved to Geneva, Switzerland, where they remain, and Albert Thomas of France was named the first Director General of the ILO. So looking at the key goals of the International Labor Organization when it was first founded, it looked to set labor standards and promote decent work. And some of the ways that they did this was hours of work, looking at the 8-hour workday and the 40-hour work week, and kind of the establishment of overtime for, work more than that. And then looking at unemployment, cutting down on unemployment, and then looking at unemployment benefits, things like that, protections for mothers, maternity leave, night work restrictions for both young people and for women, and acknowledging that labor is not a commodity. So then we look towards the United States. You have FDR, who's elected in 1932, and brings forth with his administration the New Deal, trying to recover the United States from the Great Depression. In 1934, you have the Philadelphia Conference, and Congress approves U.S. membership into the International Labor Organization. Looking to that, the ideals of the New Deal in improving labor standards, empowering workers, reducing unemployment, promoting unionization, and the overall establishment of the social welfare state, it all had roots in the core values of the International Labor Organization. So looking into the post-World War II, the integration of the International Labor Organization into the UN. So you have this Declaration of Philadelphia, this great document that came from the Philadelphia Conference, and it had a great influence in the founding documents of the UN, both the UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights acknowledged a wide variety of inherent rights and freedoms present to all individuals at birth. These encompass a wide variety of civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. It really gets to defining social justice. This social justice was this ideal when we first founded the International Labor Organization, and it is now giving us attainable goals and ideals to strive for in obtaining social justice. And a big win for the ILO was Article 23 out of the 30 articles, the right to work. It was just a big win for labor. And so looking at the integration into the UN, it became one of the first specialized agencies of the United Nations. And from 1948 to 1970, they doubled their member states, expanded their budget and staff, and expanded their influence with the opening of the International Institute for Labor Studies. And this was important because the International Institute for Labor Studies would work to research policy implementation and would work with a lot of the member states so that the regulations and standards that are being set have aid in being implemented. So now we can look at the organizational structure of the ILO. It works with 187 member states. It's a tripartite organization, and it's the only one of such, which means it brings together representatives of governments, employers, and employees, making sure that all voices are heard at the table. The International Labor Conference is often referred to as the parliament of the ILO, and it kind of serves as a legislative branch of decision making. And then you have an executive council, which serves with the executive branch, and they appoint the director general who kind of carries out a lot of the day-to-day tasks, and all kind of work together to set policy, agenda, and budget. So looking towards the modern day, we have the Better Works program, which really targets the garment industry in Jordan, Bangladesh, and Vietnam, kind of a region of the world that has received a lot of backlash for the factories and their inhumane working conditions, and lots of big companies in the US and other major powers use these factories for cheap labor. And this program partnered with the International Finance Corporation. Um, and then we have the Global Deal, which partnered with public and private sector, promoting workers' rights and really focusing on togetherness for decent work and inclusive growth. When we grow together, we all grow. Thank you for listening. This is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed.